Welcome to this special edition of the New Stack Makers on the road from MongoDB World 2022 and New York City. Discussions from the show floor with technologists giving you their expertise and insights to help you with your everyday work. Headquartered in New York, MongoDB is the leading modern general-purpose database platform designed to unleash the power of software and data for developers and the applications they build.
Hey, it's Alex Williams of the New Stack. We are live here at MongoDB World, and it is at the Javits Center in New York City. And joining me to talk about telecom as a service and just about engineering and development and building developer communities is Lloyd Woodroffe, and he's a global product manager at Vodafone. Lloyd, good to see you.
Hey, Alex, how you doing?
Great. And so we were just chatting a little bit beforehand about telecom as a service, and I'd like to get into that concept.
Yep.
But you know, Vodafone is known for, and I'm just going to read this because
Sure.
I took this from somewhere. You sell broadband, fixed line, mobile, and TV services.
Yep. So we're a global telecommunications company. We're in 21 different countries around the world, mainly sort of European based, but also in Turkey and other markets as well, partner markets and that type of thing. So we're our traditional services are things like mobile SIM cards, mobile phones, broadband services, IoT. As well as enterprise as well.
For years, we've known that the telecom industry overall has been pretty flat.
Yeah.
You know, you provide that backbone, but you decided to differentiate, and you're now trying to be more of a technology company, and you're hiring a lot of engineers.
Yeah.
Who are you hiring? What are you saying to them about Vodafone that will motivate them to come work for you?
Yeah, sure. No, it's a really good question. So Vodafone for the last couple of years has been on a bit of a digital transformation. We previously had a big strategy that was all around omnichannel, right? And when we had this omnichannel strategy, one of the things we were trying to bring in is building it ourselves, right? Not relying on vendors or suppliers anymore and saying, actually, we can do this with our own engineering teams and build it up. And over the last couple of years, especially with COVID, obviously there's been a huge strain on our network, a huge, impact to our web stores, chatbots, that type of thing. And actually we say, well, we should be doing more of that ourselves and trying to build that up. And this is where, now we're looking at how we can bring in these developers to utilize our network through APIs to build new services and new products that allow us to partner better. And this is really where there's a lot of opportunity in Vodafone to start scaling up. Now we're just getting started on that, but it's definitely something that we're, have a clear vision on, but are working towards over the next few years.
So who are those engineers that you're hiring to start? Tell me about some of the teams that you're building. What kind of tools are they using?
Yeah, no, good question. So I think there's more of our sort of traditional sort of software engineering in Vodafone. So like we said, for the web, the app, the chatbot, that type of thing. And we have big teams in all of our different markets that are building those applications. And we have, front-end, back-end engineers that build kind of React frameworks for the front end. And similarly, we have a whole concept on SRE or site reliability engineering as well to keep things resilient and scalable. But also, one of the things that we're looking to do is innovate now as well. So TaaS, the platform and the product that we're building, is essentially a developer-first framework that allows you as a developer in Vodafone to build things that you think could help the business and grow, right? We want to give people that freedom and flexibility to develop creatively, but because we're a big enterprise telco company, we need security and finance assurance as we move through as well. So TaaS is the framework that allows us to do that in a way that says the developer has the tools that they need, but security are happy with it. Now, just to finish off the tools that we use for that, we're using a load of automation to basically provision environments, so Terraform, Ansible, that type of thing. We're using Azure DevOps to automate the flow of that and show to the developer where those are in the different stages. And then ultimately, once that's deployed, you get your Kubernetes deployments. MongoDB, obviously, is your database to build those microservices, and a whole suite of other tools that help the developer build their applications.
So then you are using React for the front-end development to some extent.
We have a whole framework in Vodafone because we have 21 different markets. We're trying to drive reusability across those markets. So we use React and Node.js as kind of our strategic front-end tools. But what we use this framework for is saying, okay, we have maybe Germany who have built the My Vodafone app. They can actually use the same React widgets that UK have built. And actually that gives us a faster time to market and a better experience for the customers as well.
And so you've standardized on React. What if someone wants to use something like Next.js, for instance?
Yeah, so we're always open, obviously, to new technology that's coming in. But I think what we're trying to drive is a common engineering standard where possible to say, let's not reinvent the wheel, guys. If there's something that works and something that's relevant, we should use it. But at the same time, this is where we are starting to be a bit more open with our software engineers and say, if we can prove the benefit and show the benefit, let's move, let's pivot and start to adopt this new technology. So it's a balance, right? You need to say we've got new technology that's coming along, we need to start utilizing it and trying it out, but also there's stuff that's there, let's reuse that and extend it.
So like you have the React on the front end with Node, and what are you using then as your overall, CMS environments then for that?
So we've got a couple of different CMSs that are used across the group, mainly Contentful, which is being used, and then there's a couple of instances of Drupal. And then essentially to talk through sort of the rest of the architecture stack, we have Google Apogee as sort of a global strategic API gateway of choice for API management. And then for TaaS specifically, we're starting to use the service mesh concept a little bit more. So we're using HashiCorp Console to do that. And that's allowing us to have sort of east-west microservice navigation, reducing our costs with API management a little bit as well, which is good. But also giving kind of service discoverability, service registry, and a clearer view for the developers to see where their microservices are.
So then you also must have monitoring tools and observability tools.
We do, yeah. So we utilize Datadog quite a bit, and then PagerDuty to kind of give alerts and notifications to the developers to say, guys, there's something wrong, we need to fix it, and kind of shifting left the paradigm of, saying, well, before it was going level 1, level 2, level 3 operations. Now we're saying, actually, you as the developer are responsible for the application you've deployed. You're the best person to fix it, right? So you'll get that alert, you'll get the notification, and then from there, you can start to, fix the problem.
So how do open source technologies play into your overall strategy? They must be playing an important part.
No, it's a good question. So we have a concept in Vodafone as well, which is inner sourcing. So because we're obviously quite a big company, we're trying to drive, again, reuse and scalability of the business. We have a whole initiative that's called OneSource. So what we have is a single repo across all of our markets and teams where you can publish your code, and other teams from other countries can take that code, reuse it, and implement it into their own applications as well. Now, in terms of outsourcing to the community, I think Vodafone in general has only really started to move into this technology space in the last couple of years. We're now actually almost trying to become a technology company, right? And I think we're starting to sort of move to say, well, actually, we need almost, our own Vodafone engineering brand. We want to start productizing APIs. We want to be, building these new innovative applications. And I think that's where we'll start to see that a little bit more.
That reminds me of Capital One a little bit.
All right, okay.
And how they evolved.
Yeah.
The Capital One story followed a similar path where they did a lot of inner sourcing.
Yeah.
And then brought it externally to the community world.
And we've seen a huge benefit in Vodafone, right? And this initiative has only really started as of last year. We had a big technology strategy shift again to bring all of our teams from all of our markets together to operate as one. So now instead of it just being the UK My Vodafone app team, you now work with Germany, Italy, Spain, and other markets, which, when you're online on Teams calls is a lot easier now to do. But it's great because we're starting to travel again too. So the teams are kind of meeting up in person, which is really cool.
So you must always be on the lookout for those productivity tools or the developer productivity tools. Yeah. How does MongoDB fit into that? Because one of the things I heard from a financial analyst who I was chatting with, he said that one reason Mongo is doing very well is that people use it day in and day out.
Yeah. So MongoDB for TaaS specifically, the developer platform that we're building, we're actually using it in two ways. So it acts as our service registry for the platform. So when you provision the tools for the developer, we actually register, the organization, the cost center. We register the guardrails that we've set up from a security and finance perspective, and then actually what the developer has chosen in terms of the tools, the regions, how they want to deploy it. And that's all stored in MongoDB Atlas. But then what we also do is when those tools are provisioned, the developer and the teams that have provisioned those tools, we provision MongoDB for them to use as their database of choice. In the future, we want to give, potentially more options to give that flexibility. But, what we're seeing in Vodafone is that developers like using MongoDB, and that's why it was selected as our first database to use on the platform.
What other data tools are you utilizing for like analytics and such?
Yeah, so our sort of big data platform is all based on GCP. So we're using most of the GCP suite for big data and analytics. That's sort of the main tools that we're sort of using in that space, so sort of offloading that into the big data cloud.
Now, Vodafone's been around for a long time, and so I'm sure you have architectures that reflect that.
Yeah, massively.
So you have probably a lot of relational database environments.
We do a lot of legacy environments, and the big problem that we have is multiple markets, different stacks. Even between teams, there's different stacks within those markets at different maturity levels, and a lot of kind of legacy, big monolith applications, right? And stuff that we've been utilizing for years and is super mission critical to the business. It's definitely complex and something that we're trying to move, away from, to sort of say, well, actually, are there things that we can modernize and improve? I think there'll always be space for kind of your big traditional systems, but ultimately we're trying to simplify the architecture as much as possible. I think one of the things that we've seen as being a benefit with this inner sourcing is that actually, as you start to bring in more of these capabilities, from other teams and other markets, actually that becomes the de facto, right? It becomes something where UK, as an example, may have provided, say, the shopping basket for every country to use. And then you say, well, that's the norm. We have one code base then to keep up. It's much easier to maintain. So I think we'll start to see that more and more as the teams start to come together and people start to reuse and reshare code across our teams, which is cool.
So you're looking for ways to move the data over, which requires some building in itself to build those bridges to move that data around.
Yeah.
What cloud service are you using?
So yeah, really good question. With TaaS, we've based ourselves on AWS for now. So most of the services on that. In the future, one of the things that we're hoping to bring into the platform is what we're calling sort of cloud portability, to give the developer choice. Because again, as a developer, you don't, you want to use the tools that you know. And if you want to use GCP, that's fine. If you want to use Azure, that's fine. Private cloud in some instances as well, where security, regulatory regions may, stop us from doing it. We want to give the option to do that. But for now, AWS mainly for our hosting.
In conclusion, what does this bring for the business to Vodafone?
Yeah, so good question. So like I was saying, we've seen a huge strain on our technology services since COVID, right? People are utilizing and consuming these services over the network more and more. And actually, we need to be able to keep up with that with our development teams. So what we're seeing with TaaS is it's giving the developer quick and easy access to the tools that they need so we can keep up with this customer demand.
So they're your customers.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So that's the reason we're doing it. It's all about that at the end of the day. And what we'll see is ultimately, as the developer has access to these tools and products more, they'll be able to build new innovative stuff that can utilize our network via APIs, and we'll see some cool products and services in the future around that too.
Gosh, an information-filled interview. This has been great, Lloyd.
No, it's been really fun. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you so much. Lloyd Woodroffe, Vodafone, here at MongoDB World. Thank you so much. Really
Brilliant.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Alex. Cheers.
If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, you can always subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're on all the major social media platforms. You can always find us at thenewstack.io. We hope to see you soon.